360 shows you different perspectives on the most important news and discussions of the day. On Tuesday night, with much of the political world still focused on the indictment of former President Donald Trump, a liberal candidate won a big win arguably gives more insight into how future national elections could go than anything else that happened in courtroom in New York City. Janet Protasiewicz, liberal judge in Wisconsin, decisively defeated her conservative rival Daniel Kelly and secured a seat on the state's Supreme Court in race considered the most important election of 2023. Protasiewicz's victory will give liberals a majority. Wisconsin court for the first time in 15 years. This potentially gives them opportunity to repeal a 19th-century law that outlawed nearly all abortions and redraw a map of Congress that allowed Republicans to dominate Wisconsin Legislature, despite states' voters split about 50-50. Although the competition was not partial on paper, it bore all the traces of a traditional campaign. Democrats and Republicans rallied heavily behind their preferred candidates, spending a total of $42 million on the race, almost 3 times the previous record in any state's Supreme Court election. While Protasiewicz campaigned heavily on abortion and democracy reform, Kelly sought to portray him as soft on crime. In another high-profile race in Chicago on Tuesday night, progressive candidate Brandon Johnson defeated conservative Democrat Paul Vallas in the race to become mayor of the nation's third-largest city. These 2 victories come 5 months after Democrats overcame predictions of a red wave in last year's midterm elections by winning key nationwide Senate, House, and gubernatorial races. Why is there controversy? The Wisconsin Supreme Court will likely have a significant impact on politics in state, but many political observers say it also serves as a strong precursor to political dynamics in country ahead of critical presidential election cycle next year. Commentators on both sides of political spectrum say the result should be a flashing red warning light for Republicans about dangers they will face in 2024. They argue that Protasiewicz win demonstrates dynamics, most notably opposition, that fueled GOP's lackluster performance in midterms. Trump and Supreme Court's Roe v. reactions to his decision, which overturned the abortion protections established in Wade case, continue to affect undecided voters. Many also argue that because the heavily pro-Trump and anti-abortion views of the party's core voters, Republicans have little hope moving away from such unpopular positions. The neoliberal majority also has practical implications in Wisconsin's top court that could benefit Democrats. If court does map out state's rogue district, which is strongly biased favor Republicans, that could help Democrats win a handful of seats House representatives and tip balanced state legislature their favor. Some legal experts add that having Protasiewicz on bench rather than an ally of Trump like Kelly significantly reduces chances of a GOP-backed legal effort to challenge states' results in next presidential election. Other observers are wary of making too many predictions based on a single off-year election, which is more than 18 months away from the presidential election. They argue that types of voters participating in a state Supreme Court race do not reflect the voters who will run next November, especially if Trump himself is on ballot. Some add that abortion may not be such a strong issue for Democrats in future, as problem may be largely resolved in most states by time voters go to polls. Protasiewicz is scheduled to be sworn in August, and court is expected to quickly challenge both the state's century-old abortion ban and gerrymandered district map. There is some speculation that Republicans in the Wisconsin State Senate might try to impeach Protasiewicz to prevent him from seizing power in court, but party leaders insist that won't happen. Perspectives Republicans' refusal to abandon unpopular positions means losses will continue. After all, the Republicans were warned again and again about Trump and abortion, but also about guns, moral Grundyism, and their addiction to the insane. Yet despite all the flashing red lights, and they're flashing everywhere, the GOP just smacks his lips and says, "That's good. More, please." Charlie Sykes, Bulwark If the GOP is willing moderate about it, it has time to recoup its losses related abortion. Republicans better clarify their abortion position and move closer to where the voters are, or they will face another disappointment in 2024. Republicans who insist on this position will soon see their electoral defeat under Roe. They may find that it will lead to more liberal state abortion laws than they already are. Editorial, Wall Street Journal. An uncertain, out-of-year court race can't tell us much about how national elections will go. The Supreme Court election is a big victory for the left, but it would be foolish to say that this means Wisconsin won't be a competitive state in 2024. Lower than the November 2022 midterm elections or the 2020 presidential election. John McCormick, National Review. Democratic power in Midwest oscillating states narrows GOP's path to the White House. These gains will give progressives more energy and elect more Democrats in a virtuous cycle. It's hard to imagine any Republican presidential candidate carrying Wisconsin in 2024, and that pattern is likely to apply other major Midwestern states as well. Robert Kuttner, American Prospect. The unique circumstances have made abortion more central in Wisconsin than it would have been in many other competitions. The answer seems to be that abortion is a winning topic for Democrats, but only in certain situations. When a campaign revolves around the topic, as did this week's Wisconsin Supreme Court race and last year's voter referendums in Kansas, Kentucky, and Michigan, abortion is in purple or red states. It can even win big. But there is no evidence yet that abortion can determine the outcome of most political campaigns. David Leonhardt, New York Times. GOP's mega base drives the party straight to disaster in 2024. The GOP candidate will most likely have approved a national abortion ban to keep the party's primary voters happy. If it dominates, it can continue to build kryptonite to MAGA until 2024. Greg Sargent, Washington Post. Messages that helped the GOP win in the past may not work today. Away from the Trump circus, it definitely feels like a change is happening. Republican scare tactics. Socialism is coming. Crime is rampant. The family is under attack. Not working. And when your party's face becomes the first impeached ex-president, the old law and order party line flattens a bit. Rex Hupke, USA Today. The result should inspire Democrats to proudly stand up for progressive policies. There is a lesson here for the Democrats. When they try to protect their abortion rights, they tend to win. When they avoid messages that are central to their party's identity, for example, by going to the center with harsh policies against crime, their track record is much more mixed. In most of the country, voters do not want Republican candidates. They want Democrats who act like Democrats. Alex Shepard, the new Republic. Abortion fights could be largely resolved until the presidential election approaches. Abortion could be legal in Wisconsin until the 2024 election. I think this is actually quite possible. So abortion as a motivating issue may not be there for some voters. Amelia Thompson DeVoe, 538. Liberal majority in Wisconsin court will oppose GOP's efforts to subvert democracy. A redrawn map could put the 2 or 3 GOP-held seats in Congress into play for Democrats. The actual winner of the 2024 Wisconsin presidential election will almost certainly receive the state's electoral votes. Christina Cauterucci, Slate. Is there a topic you would like to be covered in the 360? Send your suggestions to the 360 Yahoo News. Photo contribution Evelyn Hochstein.